Hello to all my Lois loyalists out there. My name is EJ and welcome to my channel. We have a lot to discuss in this week's video. I have been jam-packed making so much content from my American Horror Stories review to last week's Grotesquerie, but my goodness, I am so excited to dive into this one. We are talking about Grotesquerie Episode 7. One of the biggest things that stood out for me this episode was that line about the crux of faith is terror, and people need the grotesque to keep themselves religious. I mean, my goodness, what a bombastic line, but really sums up so much of the religious aspect of this show. But we are not here to talk about religion, faith, and all that. We are here to talk about this twist. I would say twist with a little bit of air quotes, because my goodness, you all figured that out way early into this run. We are gonna just, I mean, what do I even do? Can I call us Lois loyalist anymore? What has this show meant? I'm not gonna go full, I feel the first 6 episodes are pointless now, but I really need some stuff to be explained in the later half of the season now, because what a massive twist, what a massive change up to this game. Lois has been in a coma this whole time. Her husband Marshall is the one who's been ready to pull the plug. Wow. I mean, there's so much. We find out who the Grotesquerie killer is, which is such an afterthought in this episode. I need to process this.
Here I am. I feel like I've lived a lot of lives today.
Wow. Whoa. Okay, so this episode had a lot to get into. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty details, but overall, I did enjoy this. I thought this was a very well-crafted episode. I liked how long it was. I liked that we got a lot more details. I liked seeing both realities that we are in. It's very different, and it takes some adjustment because you're so used to, Travis Kelce not having a mullet and looking disgusting. You're used to the way the story has been unfolding, and now to see all of these characters in this weird Wizard of Oz, like, oh, you were there, and you were there, and you were there, to see all of that kind of unfold in the way it has, it is wild. This episode took me for a ride. I'm happy about it. Look, I thought this was going to be a pretty straightforward show, but this additional twist and what they're going to have to do with the remaining 3 episodes, I am so confused, I'm so curious, and I cannot wait to get into it. My goodness, what a wild episode of Grotesquerie. So the episode begins and we are still in the, I guess, dream state now, because while Lois is figuring out that Merritt and Ed are going to get married, she reads them to filth. She's talking about her daughter being disgusting. She's talking about this man and you cannot gaslight a black woman because we've been through enough lines. Lois had continuous bar after bar in this where I'm like, ooh, those kind of things where someone says something, you're like,
Oscar's in my bathroom. Why? But I'm not an actor.
That's what Lois was giving me in this. She was just having none of it. And it's interesting because you're seeing her kind of having to close off this chapter in her life. She's dealing with her daughter and Ed announcing that they're in love. No time for that. She's also going to say, hey, it's time for Marshall to get up out here. I'm done with him. I'm done with his mistress. I'm done with all of this. It's pretty hard-hitting. It's pretty crazy. But we're seeing, in the reality, it's just as brutal there, with Marshall wanting to just move on from Lois as well. It's interesting to see the dynamics. I love watching both these stories play out, but we are still firmly in that original dream reality because we find out things like who the Grotesquerie killer was. It was Father Charles. Very obvious, very obvious, but I still thought that was an interesting thing because that does lead to Megan having her weird place in the church, having her weird rise to, power, and this gives Lois some pause, and she's just like, was she in cahoots with this man? I'm like, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but does it, what does all going to mean in the reality where, Father Charles is just a nurse and Megan is not a nun. She's a detective that works in Lois's thing. Like, it's kind of crazy of what this was established and what these new characters and what these new storylines are going to mean. I'm interested. I mean, I feel like I got 2 shows in one, so that's pretty cool, but I like the dream stuff here because, again, it's still very dreamlike, watching Lois Lois kind of glide through the areas, watching her, again, pick up red things. I want to know if you guys know the symbolism between red and maybe being in a dream state or maybe being in a coma. What does that mean? Because we get the red vines. We've always had Nurse Red here. There's a lot of interesting little details that I feel are above my pay grade. I'm not like a dream specialist. I'm not a color theorist. So if you guys know anything about the color red and what that means specifically in these dream coma stuff, let me know. Lois is not having it by the time she runs into Megan by the end of this first half of this episode, because she's like, yay, you figured out the murder case. I'm so great. We're all so happy for you. Now retire. And Lois is like, are you kidding me? And, you know, her boss lady has some good points of like, look, detective work is changing, AI, all this. And it's kind of crazy that as a creator, we're seeing the rise of AI and what that is doing to us. I did not even think about in the police world and what the advancements of science and technology is going to do to policing. And Lois is kind of in this weird state of like, what do I do now? Well, she confronts Megan and they have a all-out bad bitch battle.
It's about to be a
Whoa, 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 whoa. I love this fight. It almost hits a funny level of just what the hell are these two doing with each other. They are just going all at it, just brawling. And you know, I guess we'll kind of finish this story off now, but we get to the point where you think Megan's going to end it all, but Lois ends up shooting her, and the gore explosion shook. That was good. But this snaps Lois out of her coma, and she is now in the real world? Is it? Who knows what reality is in this show? Now we are in what we believe is reality. Lois is the one that's been in a coma. She is the cheating alcoholic spouse that is, you know, in a coma. Marshall is the one ready to pull the plug. Ed is a horrible mulleted man. Merritt is not a horrible person as she was in Lois's dream state. She has like doctorates. She's like a real, you know, well put together human being. That's really great. We see Nurse Red, who is not a nurse. She is a content creator on a certain website for people to be naked. Oh, okay, Miss Red. I mean, Lesley Manville has been sexy and hot and crazy this whole season. That's really great. And then, you know, we meet the Father Charles, and he's actually just a nurse there, kind of the main doctor who is there, kind of replacing the Nurse Red position. It's a lot of stuff to really handle and really process, and I was kind of shook that it went this route. And watching Courtney be Vance, I have been waiting for him to be at the forefront, and this was that episode. He is amazing here. Watching him deal with the Lois situation, watching him kind of battle with all this, I absolutely loved where this was going and how this was all handled, and watching it all unfold. It was so juicy, so much insanity, and it was exactly what I needed. Lois is awake, she is not dead, and she is going to have some things to say about people in this reality, but it's going to take some adjustments. I'm curious if we're going to go back into that weird dreamlike state ever again, or is that story now completely done? I mean, we figured out who the Grotesquerie killer is, but is there a killer in the reality? You know, I was going to call her sister Megan, but she's not that. Detective Megan? Ooh, my girl? What's she going to be doing? Is there a murder investigation in reality to figure out now that Lois is awake? There's a lot of questions to be answered going forward, but I am happy that this episode just slapped me in the face. I was surprised, and it's hard to be surprised by things nowadays. You're instantly predicting stuff, and again, a lot of us did predict that Lois was going to be in a coma, but the way it was handled and seeing how different reality was, I really do appreciate it. I'm still confused if I feel the first half of this show was even worth it now, because this is definitely a big, 180 twist and all that. But for the most part, I like where we're going. I think it's smart, I think it's fun, I think it's fresh, and I'm still into Grotesquerie. What did you guys think of my review? What do you guys think of this episode? Are you pro the twist, or do you think it's horrible? Let me know all your feelings down in the comments below. Subscribe to my channel if you do like videos like this. Trust me, girl, we have a lot. I just covered all of American Horror Stories. That is 5 videos I dropped in 2 days. We have Grotesquerie, American Horror Story stuff, and I've kind of teased it before, but if you're a fan of the original Disney Channel original movies, I'm covering like Halloween Town. I'm going to do them all in one fun video because I love spooky stuff, but I love family-friendly spooky stuff as much as I love the nastiness that is Grotesquerie. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining, and let's talk about this wild episode right down below.